What is the general attitude of Brazilians towards the English language? Yes, I'm Roman, and today I have an exciting video for you. In fact, I have a guest speaker and I will allow him to introduce himself.
Hi guys, my name is Victor, I'm Brazilian, and I'm here to talk to Roman a little bit about my background.
Alright, perfect. So the first thing I would like to talk about is your journey in speaking the English language, because in my estimation as a native speaker and a teacher, I believe that you speak quite well, and I would like to know why is it that you speak so well, and if it is common that Brazilians speak English at the level at which you speak it.
So I had contact with English when I was in high school. I mean, all of us have this contact because we have English classes, but we do not learn English to speak it for real, like on a daily basis. We just learn English to pass to another semester, you know. So if you really want to learn English, you need to do a course or something else. In my case, I went to school when I got into college, so I had English classes. I did business school, and there I had English classes from the first semester until the last semester.
Alright, wait, sorry to cut you. So are you saying that Brazilians all start learning English from the high school, the secondary level? Or before?
Before.
Okay, continue.
So I had English classes in college, and it was like a project. Actually, I did administration, and the course did not have English, but they wanted to try something new, so we had English aimed at business. So we had from the first semester to the last semester English classes, and then I started to speak it for real, you know. And of course, after that, I started using some apps, and then I met some people, some foreigners, and I started to speak English on a daily basis. Then I got jobs in which I had to use English as well. So,
are your teachers only Brazilians who speak English, or do you perhaps sometimes have native teachers who would teach the language?
In my case, I had only Brazilians, but I know that there are some private schools in which the teachers are foreigners.
Do you consider yourself fluent in English?
Fluent is an interesting word, because I have in mind that fluency and level of knowledge are different things. So I'd say that I can speak English fluently, but I do not know every single English word. I think a person can be like on an intermediate level and speak English fluently, and a person can be on an advanced level and speak English like making some mistakes, speaking slowly, but they have more knowledge of many words, you understand? So I think that fluency and level are different things. So I'd say that I'm on an advanced level, and I can speak fluently, but it doesn't mean that I know like everything. I've been always learning. Even Portuguese, there are some Portuguese words that are old, they're not used anymore, but sometimes when I see them I'm like, this is Portuguese.
When did you come to the realization that you have finally mastered, or that you're finally fluent in English?
It was when I was able to understand people from different countries, English speakers. As I told you before, when I was able to understand different accents, I was like, okay, I can speak English properly.
What is the general attitude of Brazilians towards the English language? So I'll give you some sort of context. I know when I was back in Jamaica and I was teaching French and Spanish, one of the comments I would often hear, certainly not by everyone, is that, sir, why do I need to learn Spanish when I live in Jamaica, or French when I live in Jamaica? I will probably never use this because in the country we only need to use English for the most part. And here in France, it's somewhat the opposite. People sort of understand the importance of English on the global market, and so a lot of jobs will require that French students, native nationals, also speak some degree of English. So you see that I have two different realities with two different responses. So in your humble experience, what is the general attitude of Brazilians towards the English language?
I think it's kind of the same perspective. We learn English. I mean, if we really want to dive into English, we learn it for business, because we can get better jobs if we can speak English. For example, I'm a recruiter, so I do recruitment, and I worked before in companies in which I had to recruit people from other countries, so I had to speak English with them. So if you want to get a better job, it'll be good if you can speak another language, depending on the size of the company, if it's a multinational, for example. So it's very good for you to know knowledge of another language.
What was the biggest hurdle or obstacle you had whilst learning English language? You could perhaps respond to this from a personal perspective or from a general or global perspective regarding Brazilians in general.
When it comes to the learning process, I think that the stimulation could be more intense, you know. I mean, of course, the teachers, they used to speak English all the time, depending on the level of the class, of course. But I feel like it could be more intense, you know. They could be more stimulating. Maybe speaking more, doing activities more that motivate the students more, you understand. And about the pronunciation, as you said, some words are difficult for us because we do not make some sounds, like the th, for example. When we say think, this is difficult at the beginning, but this is something that we can do, you know. But we know that there are different accents there, so it doesn't matter if you can pronounce that or if you can't. But I would say that about the process, the learning process, they could do something more motivating, you know. But it's like this system doesn't make us learn it properly, doesn't stimulate us to learn it in a way that, okay, I'm going to leave school speaking a foreigner language. It doesn't, you understand? But I need to tell you something. I studied in a private school, and I know that there are some initiatives in public schools in which people can travel to other countries. They can do an exchange. And I have some friends who did it, and they really learned it properly, you know, in public schools. So they did exchange, they went to other countries, they studied a part of high school in other countries, and it was amazing. You know, I just want to make clear that I'm talking about my perspective, my experience. And I know that it is different depending on the state, the region. You understand, of course, if it is a private, public school, it depends on the context.
What would you say made your English learning journey different from other Brazilians? Because as I've mentioned before, your English seems to be quite good.
Thank you for the compliment, by the way. Well, I think that immersing the culture is something that's very important. For example, I speak English in a different way. I don't know if you noticed, but we learn English like American English. But I have much contact with Caribbean people, African people, so I kind of mimic their accent sometimes because this is how I learned, you know. So I would say that making foreigner friends is an amazing way to learn another language because you have a daily contact with a different person. You will learn more about the culture, and it will give you more motivation to know more and more, you know. So I think that this is a good strategy, and there are some apps that can provide that, and they help me a lot. I teach them Portuguese as well, so it's very, very good, this learning process together.
And during your journey, was there ever a point in time where you were demotivated, where you felt as if your English wasn't progressing, or you simply experienced a plateau? And if yes, what did you do to overcome that?
So there was a point in which I was like, okay, I can understand this person from this country, but I cannot understand very well that person from that other country. So I was like, okay, I need to listen and to pay attention to all of them to understand that if I can speak English, I want to be able to speak English with all English speakers, and it doesn't matter if they are African, American, British, Caribbean, you understand? I want to be Indian, I want to be able to talk to all of them. So I think that I started to talk more to people in which I did not understand their accents. So I could be used to their accent, and then okay, now I can speak properly English. I think that's very important because some people say, oh, I can speak English good with people from this country, but when people from that country talk to me, I don't understand much. But I think it's important if you are an English speaker, I mean, foreigner or not foreigner, it's important for you to understand all English speakers, you know.
What is your real motivation for learning English or going above and beyond to the point where you, shall I say, master the language? I mean, you live in Brazil. There's no need to speak English on a daily basis. So what motivates, what drives you?
Well, first of all, after learning English, I realized that I really like languages. So I started to learn Spanish, Jamaican Patois, Yoruba, And I'm trying to learn French as well, you know. So I really like to know more about different cultures, and this is very, very good. And also, I want to visit other countries, and also I think it's important to communicate with the locals in their language. I think it can make a closer contact. I can make a closer contact with them. So this is very important, and also it's important to talk about jobs. As I told you before, when we speak a different language, English mainly, if you speak English or Spanish, you can get a job in which you can get paid better. You understand? So I think it's very important.
If I were to visit Brazil as a tourist, could I comfortably visit the country only using English, or would I need to learn some level of Portuguese?
You can come on using English, but not all the people would understand you. The point is that we are very warm, so everyone would help you, would try to understand you. They would make a way to understand you. You understand? So, I mean, you can use only English, like, okay, fine, I'll be in Brazil for some time and I can't speak Portuguese. It can happen. Some people may not be able to communicate with you, but they will make a way to communicate with you. They will use Google Translator, internet, something, but they will help you.
Alright, and here's my last question for you. What advice would you give to first Brazilians, meaning if you can make it very, very specific, it only applies to Portuguese or Brazilian speakers, what advice would you give to someone who wants to improve his or her English? Or maybe it's an advice that works for any language learner. What would that advice be?
For Brazilians, I would say, don't be so hard on yourselves, because we have something about the accent. When we learn English, people are like, oh, you need to speak like a foreigner, or they don't speak like a foreigner, but the most important thing is that you can speak the language. So don't stick to this thing like I need to speak like an American or a British or an African. No, if you can speak a language and if you have a Brazilian accent, it's okay. You understand? The more important thing is that you can speak another language. So don't worry about the comments and don't be shy. Make mistakes, because we make mistakes in Portuguese. We make mistakes in this conversation as well. So just don't worry about it. Just enjoy the journey.
Okay, well, thank you so much, and that concludes our video for today. I really appreciate your input. I certainly hope that it will be useful to those who are watching. And with that said, do you have any final words maybe?
I just want to say thank you for the invitation. It's very good to be here talking to you. And yeah, I'm available if you want to talk more about any other topics.
Alright, thank you so much. Anyways, with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, leave a comment, and I'll see you next time. Ciao.